At the same time, the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, has been visiting areas damaged by the floods in KwaZulu-Natal. She is monitoring the disaster response in eThekwini's Ward 9 and Ward 74. Well, let's take you to eNCA's Lindo Kuhle, who's been tracking the visit by the minister. So, Lindo, let's start with, obviously now the minister is taking stock of whether the response was adequate or not, but also what are the systemic issues that are at play in terms of the devastation that we saw. And one of those has to do with climate change, but at the same time she's looking at the capacity of the affected municipalities for search and rescue operations.
That's right, Tulas. The COGTA Minister, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, has been in the province for quite some time. We did follow her again on Friday, I think 3 days ago, when she was in fact just moving around some of the disaster management centers, moving around to check the response of the province when it comes to the floods. But it seems that today was more focused on in terms of what could have been done to also avert some of the devastation that we've seen. At this stage, we do know that 435 people have lost their lives. So today, she was asking the question of really whether something could not have been done to just alleviate those numbers, or at least to reduce them up to a certain level when it comes to the devastation that we've seen. And she's spoken about things that she thinks should be done by municipalities, saying that because of the climate change that we keep on seeing, she believes that municipalities should now start, formulating drills, formulating procedures in terms of how to respond, because she says that one of the things that had happened before the floods from the 10th of April to the 13th of April was that there was a warning on the 8th of April to say that there will be some weather conditions that are on alert level 2. And so that is what we understand. She says that she does not believe that municipalities have proper procedures when it comes to the responding of some of those things. When people are told that those that are on low-lying areas, they must in fact move forward. She says that that information from the weather services trickles down to the residents, but they do not know what to do with it. And she's urged municipalities to now start in terms of responding to climate change, responding to weather alerts, to say that they must then be able to go around their communities and tell them in terms of what the procedure is when it comes to the issues of weather alerts, as well as this climate change that they keep talking about. She says that there needs to be a better response. There needs to be a clearer understanding from residents, but also from municipalities in terms of what happens when weather alerts are given out there. Just take a listen to her explaining to some of the residents that were gathered to get a sense really of what she was trying to say around municipalities having proper procedures.
And each flood has been more severe than the previous one. So it's clear that we have to be ready. One of the things that the municipalities must do is to have a proper procedure or drill, that when there is an alert about heavy rains, what happens in communities? There must be a proper procedure so that we don't lose lives. Because the South African Weather Service does give us warnings, which must then be acted upon. But sometimes it's not acted upon. People just send in WhatsApp groups that there is going to be this. So now we have learned a lesson. It must be acted on. Secondly, I was saying to them, now they must agree to be moved from those areas that are floodplains or where there are mudslides.
And Linda, from a capacity perspective, what has the minister been saying about the capacity and efficacy of search and rescue teams in the various municipalities?
Well, that comment to us would firstly come from the fact that more than 50 people, they said 47, but we understand that close to the number of 50 are still missing. So families are still looking for their loved ones. Earlier on, you played a bite of them. They lost a family that buried a number of their loved ones, while they are still having others that are still missing. But they are saying that in terms of the rescue, search and rescue operations, that things are not as normal as they used to be, because she believes that this would happen on occasion and rescue teams would be able to respond to that. Now, again, visiting the issue of climate change, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma said that it can't simply be business as usual when it comes to rescue teams, because what we've seen here in terms of the disaster is that the climate change is now causing a difference in terms of the types of mission they need to undergo. She was also speaking about the fact that they also had to ask help from other provinces. We've seen rescue teams from other provinces such as Gauteng and other parts of the country really descending to KwaZulu-Natal to try and help. But despite all of that help, including the troops that were deployed from the SANDF and the Air Force, people are still missing. So she says that there needs to be better training in terms of the rescue teams. But more than anything, she's also spoken about capacitating areas where there is concern in terms of this climate change, saying that in parts of KwaZulu-Natal and coastal lines, there is an expectation that as we move towards other years, as we move to the future, there is going to be a need for more and more rescue teams to be on the ground to respond to climate change and such heavy rains that we've seen devastate parts of KwaZulu-Natal. But she's essentially saying that there needs to be better capacity as well as a different approach in terms of the training to be able to find the people that are missing. Take a listen again to Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, Minister of Culture, just speaking about what she believes should happen in terms of rescue teams that have been deployed in the province of KwaZulu-Natal.
Even as government, we didn't take seriously the issue of climate change. We don't have even enough divers and rescuers, because this was an occasional occurrence. So we didn't have a lot. Even in the province, we've had to get other provinces to send some of their rescue, search and rescue people. So now it teaches us that we must also train more search and rescue, because the eastern part of the country is going to be wetter and have frequent floods. The western part is going to be drier and have frequent droughts.
All right, let's leave it there. That's eNCA's Lindogo Hlekulu out in Durban. They're tracking the visit by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, just weighing in on a number of issues that I think are critically important. The readiness. I like the comment that she makes about, in future, what do we do with the information that is shared? When there's an alert, and she's absolutely right, if there were to be an alert that says a major weather event is to happen, I wouldn't know what's the first step to take. Where do we go? You know, other countries have these drills and sort of drill it in their citizens' heads that when there's this kind of emergency, first step, if you're living in a low-lying area, evacuate. What does that mean? Where do you go? What are the designated areas where people are supposed to go in case they need to evacuate? To say to people, evacuate. Evacuate to where? Where do I go? I think I like that conversation that she's leading there, the Minister Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma.